is a signal to all the realms that the Earth is ready for a higher form of war.
Hey, welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. The scope of the MCU has come a long way since 2008's Iron Man, where two corporate businessmen duked it out on an LA freeway. Since then, we've seen stories set not just across the galaxy, but across universes, and we've seen the planet Earth invaded by alien armies more than once. So it makes sense that before too long, the Earth is going to have to get its crap together and unite into a single planetary government, before the next alien invasion finally takes advantage of our fractured disunion and conquers us once and for all.
Don't blame me.
I mean, the world's security is already run by a Security Council, and a Global Repatriation Council has settled everyone after the blip. We've already seen a lot of clues into what a united Earth could look like in the MCU, and how the planet will play a larger role in the universe now that we're no longer some backwater town cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Later in this video, we'll get into which upcoming films and TV shows will probably feature a new MCU world government, but before we do that, let's look at what city would make the most sense as the new Earth capital. Earth capitals are nothing new to science fiction and fantasy, usually in stories set in the future. Previous Earth capitals in pop culture included Washington, D.C. in Futurama, Sydney, Australia in Halo, and Paris in Star Trek.
Wait, I thought San Francisco was Earth's capital in Star Trek.
Actually, Doug, that's a common misconception. San Francisco is where Starfleet is headquartered, but Paris is actually the Federation capital.
Oh, well, I'm more of a Star Wars fan anyway. Star Trek is for nerds.
What are you talking about? I love Star Trek. Anyways, there's a few cities that make for the perfect Earth capitals in the MCU, including New Asgard. Now, while still a relatively rural town, New Asgard has a lot going for it, and could easily become an advanced intergalactic metropolis in the near future. For one thing, it's already home to a lot of aliens. Any Earth capital would need to be a cultural melting pot, not just for the various peoples of Earth, but for other extraterrestrial species as well, in order to better foster cooperation among planets. Xandar, for example, wasn't just home to Xandarians, but countless alien species, which was key to it being the capital of the Nova Empire. Now, New Asgard already has a head start, being home not just to Asgardian refugees, but several other species that escaped Sakaar as well, all of whom have begun to live together peacefully. New Asgard also has another advantage going for it. It has Axel. No, not him. Or him.
$10 per axle.
Or him. Him. Heimdall's son. Introduced in Thor: Love and Thunder, Axel already has inherited Heimdall's powerful second sight. It's safe to assume that Axel will get all of his Papa's abilities, including the power to summon the Bifrost. He might even be able to build a permanent rainbow bridge like the one Asgard had before it was destroyed. By using the Bifrost and becoming Earth's main hub for intergalactic travelers, New Asgard will be a prime location for a global capital, similar to how Ellis Island helped New York City become the cultural capital it is today. Endgame already showed us that by establishing ties with Captain Marvel and what was left of the Guardians of the Galaxy, interstellar travel to and from Earth was becoming pretty casual. All the more reason for Earth to set up an ambassador city to the cosmos. And who better to show Earthlings the way than the remaining Asgardians? After all, Asgard was protector of the Nine Realms for millennia. Asgard passing that torch to Earth makes a lot of sense when you consider that the Battle of Earth to defeat Thanos and resurrect trillions of lives across the universe was mostly won by humans like Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Carol Danvers, Bruce Banner, and Peter Quill.
I'm from Earth, I'm from Missouri.
Yeah, that's on Earth, dipshit. What are you hassling us for?
Besides the Battle of Earth, our planet seems to attract all sorts of cosmic, galaxy-destroying events, and was, at various times, home to 4 of the 6 Infinity Gems: the Eye of Agamotto, Vision's Mind Stone, the Tesseract, and the Ether. Thanos' defeat showed the galaxy that they were in good hands, with Earth's mightiest heroes replacing the Asgardians as intergalactic protectors. By becoming a hub city for multiple civilizations, New Asgard would be an ideal candidate for Earth's capital, the same way New York City was the perfect choice for the United Nations to establish its headquarters. And hey, since New York City is such a great example of a global city, why not talk about how it's also a great location for Earth's capital?
I'm sorry, Earth is closed today.
Now, the MCU wouldn't be the first to go this route. Multiple sci-fi stories have conjectured the Big Apple is the obvious eventual choice for the seat of a world government, from The Fifth Element to The Expanse. In The Expanse, which takes place a few centuries from now, the United Nations takes the leap from a loose alliance of nations into an actual, functional government. Something similar could happen in the MCU as a response to the constant threats the planet faces from extraterrestrial attacks. Not only is New York already home to the UN headquarters, but it was also home to the Avengers' first HQ and is the nearest city to their current compound slightly up the river. The Avengers could step up their role as a suit of armor around the world, much like they did in the chaos that occurred after the snap.
It was an infectious garbage scow.
Now, if that occurs, New York is the obvious choice for Earth's capital. And if Earth seems to attract more than its share of larger-than-life attacks, New York, more than any other city, takes the brunt of those attacks. More supervillain attacks take place in NYC than in practically every other city combined, with 4 of the first 6 Phase 1 films featuring big fights or battles in New York alone. New York is essentially the city that never sleeps because every 5 minutes another neighborhood's being destroyed. In the comics, New York is also home to the Baxter Building, home of the Fantastic Four, which may already have taken Avengers Tower place in the MCU. See, in Spider-Man, Stark's old office looks suspiciously like the vertical forest that Reed Richards built in Earth 838. Something makes New York a special place in the MCU. It's also home to the Sanctum Sanctorum, one of the 3 focal points of Earth's mystical energy. If there is a possible list of Earth capitals, New York has got to be near the top of that list. Also near the top of that list is Bernzana, aka the Golden City, aka the capital of Wakanda. As the center of a country with technology far more advanced than the rest of the world, thanks to a meteor filled with vibranium that crashed into its territory and a really clever scientist named Shuri, Wakanda is an obvious contender for Earth capital. The MCU is possibly setting this up already. A key theme of 2018's Black Panther was Wakanda's secretive, isolationist stance, and how the soul of the country was tied to its place in the larger world. By the end of the film, Killmonger convinced his cousin T'Challa to share Wakanda's abundant wealth and technology with the disadvantaged people of color around the world, starting in Oakland, California. King T'Challa announces this mission to the UN and tells Everett Ross that he plans to lead the nations of the world by example. Soon after, the people of Wakanda must literally defend Earth from Thanos' forces in Infinity War, taking arms to protect the Vision and the Mind Stone. After the snap, Okoye continues T'Challa's commitment to the larger world by being a key member of the Avengers Intergalactic Peacekeeping Force. So by this point, Wakanda seems to be fully entwined with the events occurring outside their borders. Now, considering the title for the upcoming Black Panther sequel is Wakanda Forever, the nation itself, and T'Challa's mission, is probably key to the film's storyline. With Namor, the Submariner, slated to be the film's villain and based on recent comic storylines, we're probably going to see an attack on Earth from within, by the armies of Atlantis.
It's an earthquake under the ocean.
Hey, wouldn't the armies of Atlantis be navies or marines or even like the Coast Guard?
Well, okay, whatever Atlantis chooses to call their armed forces, if it's Wakanda that comes to Earth's rescue and leads the defense against Namor, the nation and its capital of Bernzana are poised to become the planetary capital. Now, like Wakanda before T'Challa took the throne, Earth was very much an isolated planet, and like Wakanda, Earth now can't help but be a part of a bigger cosmic picture. As early as Spider-Man Far From Home, we've already seen the people on Earth take an active role in intergalactic affairs. At the end of the film, we see Nick Fury in outer space at a massive space station or ship, setting up SWORD, a counterpart to S.H.I.E.L.D. founded by Maria Rambeau.
Sentient weapons, like it says on the door. The world's not the same as you left it. Space is now full of unexpected threats.
Now clearly at some point we'll see what Fury is up to out there, and it's pretty likely he's doing more than just testing to see if ants can be trained to sort tiny screws in space.
They'll clog the instruments!
Careful, they're ruffled.
Considering there's also Skrulls on Fury's ship and filling in for him on Earth, chances are that SWORD will play a major role in Marvel's upcoming Secret Invasion series. Earth might even be headed for a war with the Kree, our planet's first full-scale conflict with another species, fulfilling Thor's warning that Earth was attracting trouble by messing with the Tesseract.
Your work with the Tesseract is what drew Loki to it, and his allies. It is a signal to all the realms that the Earth is ready for a higher form of war.
Now, if the Secret Invasion wasn't bad enough, the MCU is also on a collision course with Secret Wars, specifically a multiversal war between dimensions. The events of Loki set up an invasion by Kang the Conqueror, and Multiverse of Madness hinted that Earth 838 might attack Earth 616 to prevent an incursion by Doctor Strange's zombie dreamwalking. These are likely the events that are going to set up these next 2 Avengers films, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, both due out in 2025. Honestly, at this point in the MCU, Earth could pretty much be attacked by anyone, even the Hulk.
Earth ain't Hulk.
If the nations of Earth do end up having to go toe-to-toe with Hulk or another version of themselves, or if World War III turns out to be World War Kree, Earth will definitely need a capital for its base of operations. And now we know which cities the MCU might end up crowning with that title.
Welcome to Earth.
But what do you think the day-to-day life is like in the MCU now? Do you have any thoughts on Earth's capital? Let me know in the comments below, or you can @ me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I am Ryan Airy.